All right. Wait, I don't actually know if. Oh, it says we're live.
Oh.
I don't know how to do a countdown. I wanted to do a countdown. Um, oh well, I guess we're live now. How are you
Hi,
doing today, Emily?
pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Unfortunately, we're not joined by Margaret today because she couldn't make it this week because of the change in time. Hopefully, we'll see her next week, though. Yeah. So, how was your day? I don't know. I just like.
Yeah, I guess I had a lot of just like classes today. I have this massive design studio class that goes from 1 to 4 p.m. So 3 hours in a row. It's a fun time being on Zoom for that long.
That
But
literally would give me such a headache.
I know. But like thankfully my professor's pretty chill, so he kind of lets us like do our he kind of goes through the homework during studio sometimes, so we kind of do our homework while we do it and then we can just turn it in right afterwards. So it's kind of nice, but yeah, it's been a long day. What about you? How was your day?
I am literally so drained. I only had 2 classes today, but I had so much work to do.
Really?
And I had office hours today for a class that I'm TAing for, so I'm just like so tired of talking. But I'm ready to do some more talking, I guess.
All right, then let's see. It's 1 minute. How much should we wait a little longer or?
I'm gonna message in the chat. And then, yeah, I mean, we've got 0 viewers, which is an awesome, absolutely. But I guess we will just get started with going over the homework. The homework shouldn't have been too bad this week. Once again, this is Intro to JavaScript, week 3. And the first thing we'll be going over is last week's homework. It was nothing crazy. Let me switch my screen so that you guys can actually see what I'm looking at. Oops. Don't look at my text. Wow, my messages are literally just on the internet forever now. That's great. Anyway, this is what your homework should look like after week 1. So right now I'm going to walk through how to... I'm looking for the instructions to the homework. I'm going to walk through the week 2 homework so that like you guys all are caught up. Okay, so let's start with 2.1, linking your CSS file. So yeah, last week we started going over cascading style sheets. We honestly covered like everything you really need to know because CSS is so simple and like it's just like there's so much to learn in that language like that like you can't even like learn it all. So a lot of it is just like common sense and then just like Googling things because like you can't learn every single attribute or property in CSS. But yeah, so after you made your week 2 folder, I think that's pretty obvious. Everyone knows how to make a folder. Okay, so in our HTML file, we are going to link our CSS file. So select the rel attribute of the link tag. So we'll open a link tag, rel to style sheet. And href equals style.css. I can't spell today. can spell any day. And then we're going to make a CSS file. And we'll make sure our name matches the link thing. And we'll head over to our CSS file. Yeah. So on to step 2. Okay, so we're going to style the body first using the body selector. I don't think it's dot body. I think it's just body. I think that's a typo on my end, but I guess we'll find out. Display is going to be set to flex. Justify content to align to center. Align items center. Min height. Oh, not that one. 100 EH. Font family. Which one do we want? I think I usually use this one. Okay, so let's see what our page looks like. Am I in the right file? No, I'm not.
The body selector? Or...
I'm in the wrong file. Homework. Yeah, so it's not dot body, it's actually just body, I think. There we go.
Yay.
And we'll also add a background color because it's kind of ugly. And which one do we want?
Maybe like warm color. Like light.
Oh, I like this one, light salmon.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Why didn't that work? Oh, because I didn't save it. That looks nice. And we can change our font color too.
I think it's color, just like
oh,
color.
right. It doesn't make sense to me, but
I know.
I think a really light gray would look nice. Oh no, never mind. Let's do white.
Simple.
I always forget to save my files. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go with that. All right. Now, back here, we're gonna go to the clock design. Like I said, really simple homework this week. Define a selector that styles elements in the clock class. So now it's here where we use a period. It was my bad, guys. We're going to set the width to 500 pixels and the height to 200 pixels. And we're also going to add a background color. What should we make the background color?
Ooh, maybe since we have like a bright, warm kind of color, maybe a darker color, but also warm.
Oh, maybe if we did like a red, that could look nice. Possibly. No.
Wow.
Anyone in the audience want to give us some color suggestions, or do we still have 0 viewers?
Oh, we actually have 4 viewers now. Hey, y'all.
Oh my god, amazing. Anyone have any ideas?
Any colors? Shout out a color.
Ooh, wait, this is kind of pretty. I like that. Bring down the transparency a little bit. Oh, I like that. So I'm assuming we got no suggestions, so we're just gonna have to wing it. Also, this tool thing looks really intimidating, but because you're using an IDE, you literally just like play with colors on this thing, and it does it for you.
Oh, someone said in chat, I did mine black and white. That's a classic color combo. Yeah. Gotta love it.
Very classy, very clean. I love to see it. And we're also gonna add a border. So let's do 10 pixels, solid, and what color do we want? That one's nice. Oh, that's the same color we already have. Let's do that. That looks pretty. Oh, I like that. I like that. Maybe we'll make it a little bit bigger. I think that's how I have it. Okay, nice. What's our next step? Okay, display. Set that to flex. Align items. Center. Justify content. Center. And we're going to add like 30 pixels to the left margin because it's really tight over here. And yeah, okay, so we're also going to change the size of this font because it is small. Font size 30 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Oh, wrong one. Maybe a little bit bigger. Awesome. Okay, yeah, this is just telling us to select our time zone. We don't even really need to do this. I just felt like there weren't a lot of tasks in this, so I added some random stuff. You could really just like change anything because it's in the body, like you could just change it there. But let's just increase the font size to, what do you want it to be? Let's say like 20 pixels. I'm also going to make this clock a little bit smaller. So let's say 400 by 150. And yeah, there you go. Homework should look something like this when you're done. So Eastern time zone, it's 7:13. Central time zone, it's 6:13. Yeah, and you guys can figure out the rest from there, I think. Yeah, does anyone have any questions on this? I kind of like the colors we used this time.
Yeah, I really like the warm. It looks very modern.
Yeah, it like matches my room almost.
Yeah. But yeah, if any of you guys ever have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat whenever. But yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing now. And we will go back to the notes. Okay, so today we're going to be going over variables in CSS, some more CSS features that are kind of like more advanced and aren't really something you need to know for a good understanding of CSS, but will definitely help you with this week's homework, and some HTML features that will also help you with this week's homework. Okay, so I think Emily's going to talk a little bit about variables.
Yes, so a CSS variable, what you can use to use CSS variables for is to access DOMs. So You can create local and global variables and change variables with JavaScript. And just as a quick reminder, global variables can be accessed and used through the entire document, and then local variables can be used only inside the selector where it is declared. So what you see below is the var function, and I'll go into more detail about this later, but you'll use this syntax to access and to insert CSS variable values and use them later on. But yeah, I'll go more in depth into this, but yeah, keep an eye out for this function. Yeah, this is how to define a variable. So to define a global CSS variable, you have to declare it in a root selector. So you do a colon root and you put in the selector. So as an example, I just put in like two CSS variables for colors. So the first one's for black, the second one's for white. And if you want to declare a local CSS variable, you will declare it in the desired selector that you want to use it in. So for the one on the right, you might be able to, this piece of code might be helpful in homework later, so keep an eye out for this. But this is rotation. There's a CSS, we declared a CSS variable called rotation, and we set it to 30 degrees. So we'll go more in depth into this later, but yeah.
Yeah. And it's also really important to notice, like, a local variable only exists for the scope of this, whatchamacallit, like this selector. Yeah. So, like, just keep that in mind. And also when I say scope, like, that's basically just means where the variable exists. So the scope for rotation is .clock.num1. But because we declared these variables in the root selector, they will exist for the entire program, like, and you can access and change them in any part of the CSS code.
And this is how to access a variable. So going back to the var function, this is the syntax that you'll use. So every variable, as you can see, I should have mentioned this bit earlier, but every variable has two dashes in front and then the variable name. So I guess in the syntax, you can see the first part is required. So you can just have that, like the variable name inside, but optionally, sometimes that you may see a second parameter, and this is a fallback value. So if the variable isn't accessed, then it will just go to this value. But yeah, as you can see on the right is an example that you might see in your homework later on, but you can see that we are declaring the rotation CSS variable, setting it to 0 degrees, and then we're using a transform property, which Daniel will later go over later on, and we're using it with the rotate function, and then we're using the rotate function by accessing the rotation variable. So yeah. Oh, and there's a question, global can be accessed by all selectors. Yes, if you put, so I guess in the past slide when you saw like the root, anything that is put into the root selector can be accessed by all selectors. I'll show you an example on the next slide. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also pretty sure that, like, say you had a selector that was just selecting clock, but inside of the clock div you had like another I don't know how to put it. So say I declared this as just clock, then obviously there's also like some clock, there's some like object that has clock and num or num1. So I don't know how to put this.
Numbers. Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So if you have, say, like a div inside of a div, say the outside div is clock and the inside div is like num1, Then if I define rotation inside of clock, like just dot clock, then it will also exist for num1 because num1 is inside of clock. Does that make sense? So like num1 is like a child of clock almost.
Yeah,
Or
like a parent-child relationship.
yeah, exactly. So the scope exists, like the variable exists for any object inside of the object that it's declared in. That'll make more sense when we like demo it later. And it's also not really important. It's just like good to recognize like scope and like what defines scope and stuff like that. Okay, cool.
And then I guess, oh, wait, yeah, no worries. So these are, so why should you use CSS variables? They make code easier to read and it's easier to access and change values. So as you can see in these two examples, the example on the left is using CSS variables and the example on the right isn't. So I guess this is a very simple example, but imagine using that we're using like the CSS variables on the left and we're using it throughout the entire CSS. So imagine using it for like multiple selectors. So as you can see, at least for this example, we are using the variable 3 times to determine the background color, the font color, and the border of a button. And on the right, we're doing the same. So, but like, let's say, what if we want to change our colors? All we have to do is change the colors or change the values of the CSS variables on in the left example. We only have to change the values that are highlighted over there. So we only need to change it 2 times. And all the variables that are declared underneath in the CSS where you use it will all be changed. But on the right, if you want to change these values, then you have to go in and change every single one individually, and that'll take up a lot more time. So CSS variables just make code easier to read, and if you ever need to make any adjustments in the future, it's a lot easier to do that. So yeah, advantages. And now Danielle will go into CSS features.
Okay, so the transform feature is a really cool feature in CSS. It basically just allows you to move an object in any way that you'd like. So this could be an image, or this could be simply like an object that you created that like has a color to it so that you could actually see it. And rotate and translate are just as you would expect them to be. Rotating is rotating an object, so, and that's like about its center. You can also change the origin at which something rotates, which we'll talk about later, so that like it moves based on like the bottom of the object or the top of the object instead of about its center. And then there's also translate, which moves an element horizontally or vertically or both. And this takes like coordinates or just like pixels. And then there's the skew function, which distorts an element. This one's kind of funky. I don't think we're going to be using it at any point, but it is one of like the main functions of the transform attribute. So yeah, it takes 2 angles in like the X direction and the Y direction as parameters. This one's kind of weird. I'll show you later. I don't really understand how it works all that much, but yeah, I'll show you a couple examples later. The next thing is rounded corners. So to create rounded corners with CSS, you can use the border radius property. So this defines the radius of an element's corners. So as you can see here, we have 2 rounded corners on this object, which is like a pretty good example. It doesn't reflect the code that's inside of it because these are just like, this is just for the syntax, but yeah, if we had the border radius set to 20 pixels, it would change the radius on all the corners to be rounder. However, you can insert like 4 different, well, up to 4 different values to reflect the different corners. Sorry, I have to sneeze, but like I'm Can't sneeze. So yeah, you could either put in 4 values or 1. You can also put in 2, and I think it'll affect the top left and the bottom right, kind of like over here. And we can use this property to make a circle out of a square, which we will find useful in this week's homework. And you could just, if you have any size square, you just set border radius to 50%, and it will round all of the edges to a degree where you have a circle made out of a square.
Yeah, I guess quick note on that slide, it's my bad. When I was like styling the slides, I kind of always use like that one rectangle.
Oh no, that's fine.
I didn't
expect you to reflect the code. I just thought it was a good example, but I also didn't want to confuse them by using these as an example.
Yeah, we can definitely go over and like the code demo, like quickly mess around with the border radius property, but yeah, don't let this fool you. Yeah.
Okay, and then lastly, actually not lastly, I think this is, no, not this last one. Another property that we will find useful in this week's homework is the z-index property of CSS. So if you took like a physics class or some math class, you'll learn about like there's like the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. And the z-axis is basically the third dimension, which is, I think, why this is named the way it is. So this specifies the stack order of an element. So something with a higher z-index will appear to be on top of another element or like in front of it. Yeah, because it will be on top of an element with a lower z-index. So yeah, if we looked at this example, any paragraph element would always appear on top of any div element if the two were to overlap. This is something, again, that will be useful in the homework because you'll be making an analog clock and you want certain elements to be on top of each other so that you can see them. And then there is the calc function in CSS. This performs a calculation to be used for a property value. I literally wrote this and just forgot to include the word calc in there, which was the most important part. I'm going to fix that right now because yeah. Okay, it doesn't look pretty, but
it's all right. Just imagine the just use your imagination, guys.
Anyway, yeah. So if you wanted to create, if you wanted your page to be the width of a screen minus 100 pixels for like some space along the edges, then you can like use 100% minus 100 pixels and it will do the math on that. This function is useful because there are occasions where you want to change something like based on screen size, or you just want to like do some math. Yeah, it's basically used when you're trying to like use a variable or like something of that sort, like something that's going to change and it's not going to be a definite number, or if you just want to use some number that you need math to complete and you don't feel like breaking out your calculator, I guess. Yeah, this will be useful when you're using a variable or if you want to change something based on screen size, something of that sort. You would just, any arithmetic that you do whatsoever has to be within the calc function or else the computer is not going to be able to read it. Yeah, does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions on this? Because I think we're moving back to HTML after this. Yeah.
I guess so far no questions, but yeah, if you guys ever have any questions, just feel free to post them in the chat.
Okay, and then lastly, I just want to go over, I think, just one HTML feature. So we're going to be using something called a data element, and this attribute stores custom data that is private to the page. So basically, if you want to store some data in an HTML element that you can later access in your JavaScript code. That's where you'll use this data star tool. The star just represents any like name or letter or word that will like identify your data element. So there are a couple rules for defining these, for like naming this element. The attribute name must not contain any uppercase letters. So you can't have like, after this dash, you can't have any uppercase letters in your name. And it must be at least one character long after that data dash prefix. So you can't just have data dash nothing. But that makes sense. And then to access this data element in a JavaScript file, you would use the query selector function of your document object to select an element. So you would basically just take the latter end of your name, so like anything you use, any like name you have after the data dash as your parameter. As you can see over here, it would be number. So over in the JavaScript code, I am defining a variable x that selects that number data element. And I'm going to use that to access data that I'm like later defining in that element. This is kind of confusing, not like very useful for like low-level coding in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but it will be in your homework this week, so I just wanted to go over it. I'm a little bit confused by it myself, so like don't worry if you're a little bit lost, but I explained it well in the homework, I think, and yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'll try to answer them right now. But I think that's it for the slides. We're going to do some demos, but for now, feel free to ask any questions that you have while I set up my screen for the demo.
And I guess if any of you guys have any suggestions of what you guys want us to test out a certain function that we went over in the slides, or really any function, feel free to let us know in the chat, and then we can test it out for the demo.
Okay. So we're just going to use the homework that I came up with for demo because we're just going to be playing around with CSS features. Emily, what was the first thing we talked about? Variables?
Yeah, variables, CSS variables.
Okay, let's create a variable. So we're going to create a root variable. That was using root, right? Okay. Root. So we're going to make a global variable. Oh,
wait. Oh, quick comment. Someone said it was fun to work on week 2, and you guys did a good job explaining. Oh, thank you.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you had fun with it. I was really hoping that people would have fun with CSS.
Mm-hmm. And I see you at every live stream, so thank you for joining in and every week.
Okay, what is a variable we can use, Emily? Do you have any ideas?
We can use like a color, or maybe like a rotate or transform. Like that.
To rotation. And we'll set it to 15 degrees. Yeah, so that would be defining a global variable. And then let's say in the clock, we will use that. It's okay. I feel like maybe I should just like kind of start on the week 3 homework, because that does a really good job of like examples on rotation and stuff, or maybe actually, you know what? Scrap variables, because all we really need to know is how to define them, and I think that's pretty like self-explanatory, because I don't know, I feel like sometimes it's hard to come up with like a use for a variable. If we come up with something, then we come up with something. But first, let's play around with the transform function. So there are so many options with transform. You can rescale an object, so let's try like 50%. And wait, what did I just do? It didn't do anything. Why did I think it was going to do something? I don't know how this one works. Okay, a two-dimensional transformation is applied to the transform property. Okay. I don't think I know how to use scale, but it's fine. We're not going to use scale. I know how to use that one. We rotate this one 15 degrees. Then we've got a crooked clock.
Nice.
Awesome. Let's try 215 degrees. Put our clock upside down. Ooh, cool. Nice. Yeah, that's how you use rotate. Let's try translate. So right now we'll do 0 so that we get back to normal. So if we wanted to translate this to be 20 pixels, I think this would bring it 20 pixels down, 20 pixels. Oh, yeah, it's just 20 pixels to the right. And then if I did 20 pixels again, it would bring it 20 pixels down. So if you don't even need 2 parameters at this one, if you just want to move it to the right, or if you just want to move it to the left, you could move it negative 20 pixels. But if you do want to translate vertically, then you need to define the first parameter. I think you could also use translate X, translate Y, and that will translate vertically. Yeah. Let's try negative 20. I don't. Yeah, and then also in HTML and CSS and all that stuff, you're always basing everything off the left and off the top. So when you say 20, it says it moves to the right or it moves down. And moving down might not make sense to you, but it's because of the way HTML like bases everything off of this corner. What else did we go over in the slide? Skew. Skew is so weird. I don't like it. Try 15 degrees because you have to pass degrees. Like I mean, like, I don't know what look you might be going for, but if that is the look you're going for, then like do whatever you want. You could also pass 2 parameters and it'll skew it in the other direction too. But like this literally does not make sense to me. Like if you're trying to add some perspective on it, maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty plain and simple, so I don't like the skew tool, but to each their own. And also it's important to know that you can stack these tools basically. So let's say rotate 10 degrees and translate 10 pixels. Then it will move. Well, you can't really tell it translated because we didn't see it in the first place. Yeah, and then, oh, you don't use a comma. You just do translate 10 pixels. And then you can see it moved a little bit. And I think you can even add another thing. I don't know if there's a limit to how many things you can add on here. I don't think there is. Yeah, what else did we go over besides transform?
I guess calc, but I'm not sure how absolutely.
Right, calc is like stupid. Index. So let's just say I added another div on here. Where do I want to put this? Okay, so say I added, where is the, oh, in here. Say I wanted to put a box, I don't know, some other box, class equals example. And then that example. And let's just like make it a 20 by 20 box. And let's make the background color black so that we can see it. And I don't think you can see it, but if we set the Z index to 10, and then this Z index to 1, then maybe we can see it. Let's see. Nope, I messed up somewhere. Class equals example. Is that how you define a class, or is it a hashtag?
I'm pretty sure hashtags for like IDs.
Right. Maybe it's because I have it inside of here. Let's. Oh yeah, that probably is it. It's not coming up. Did I do this right? Height, width, background color. Maybe. There we go. There it is. I'm going to move it back inside because that is what I wanted to do. Dude, it's not showing up.
Where is it?
I don't know where it went. Let's try instead of example. Let's say .clock after. Right, there it is. There's the box. So this moves by doing .clock after, it just creates an element that prints out after the content. If I did before, then it would show up before the content. Yeah. But see, if I set the Z index to 1 and this Z index to 10, then it would disappear. No, it wouldn't. What is... I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But basically, if you had a few elements inside of this div and they were all out of order, you could reorder them using the Z index. And it, yeah. Just take my word on it, I guess.
I guess we could play with border radius, like try changing that box into a circle.
Great idea. So since we already have this perfect square right here, let's add a border radius. Let's do 10% for now. And I'm also going to increase this to be like 60 so that you can actually see it. There. And you could see its rounded edges right here. Let's bump it up to 25%. Even roundeder. Even more round, I mean. And then we kick it all the way up to 50%. You see, it's a circle. It's magic. And if you put it up to 100%, nothing happens. It just stays a circle. I don't even know why. I think 50% makes sense to me, but for some reason I want 100% to be an oval, but I understand why it's not. But yeah, you could also do border radius equals 100%. I don't know the damage on that, but 50% works. What
I
else?
guess maybe you can test out like border radius, but like just adjusting like the
like the
top
top
right.
to the left. Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if we did, let's say if we did 20%, comma 0, comma 0, comma 0, you'd see that that doesn't work. Let's try this.
Maybe try just 20 maybe pixels.
I think that would work. Yeah. No. Am I dumb? Because I literally used this as an example and it worked. 20 pixels, 0 pixels, 0 pixels.
Oh, maybe wait. Maybe set border. And I don't know. Do you have to set border style to stall it? I don't think you have to actually. Never mind.
Let's try if we did 2, if that would work like I promised it would. So should do the top left and the top right. Dude, honestly, W3 schools lied to me. They lied to me.
Wait, let me see if I can find what's going on. Yeah, this should be. Oh, what if maybe do we have to set a border, like border maybe set it to like 2 pixel. Wait, I don't think we have to. I don't think that is necessary.
Violet. But I don't think we do, but
Yeah.
solid black 1 pixel. No, I didn't do anything.
Wait,
is it not? Make sure it's not supposed to be a comma. No, bro. What the heck?
That's true. Yeah, no commas in between. Yeah, I think that's it.
Oh, that did it.
Yay!
Kind of. Not really. 20 pixels. I was only supposed to do the top left and bottom right, but that is. See, we got it. Got it. Okay, awesome. And if there was one other example I was going to show, but maybe there isn't. I don't know. But yeah, that's how you do it. No commas, never any commas in HTML, unless it's inside of parentheses. Then you would use a comma. Yeah. Is there anything else that we talked about today? I feel like no.
I think we covered everything. Yeah. I guess
watching.
Yeah, let's see. Any last minute question, guys, or anything you guys want us to go over? Drop it in the chat. But yeah, I think we covered everything.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. When are your office hours, Emily?
Oh, they're actually they were originally being held at this exact same time as like the live stream, so I have to like find a new window. So I'll probably announce it later today, but yeah, I'll have to check.
Okay, cool. I will be available Monday. I think my office hours are 3:30 to 4:30. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But yeah, I will actually show up this time. I forgot this week because I had a lot of work to do on Monday, and it was like 4:25, and I was like, "Oop, I was supposed to be at office hours an hour ago. Whoops." But it happens. Yeah. If anyone has any questions and are feeling a little shy on Twitch today, or just didn't show up and you're watching this like at a later date, feel free to message us on Discord or come to our office hours. Yeah. Thank you to everyone who came today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. We'll make sure to share the slides in the Discord. Yeah, thank you.
And they will also be on, what was it? GitHub.
Yes,
They will be
yeah.
on GitHub.
Yeah. All right then. Bye all.
Bye. Thanks for watching. I cannot wave my left hand. Oh my god. All right, bye.
Bye.